Welcome to the January 2026 Database Security Office Hours. I'm your host. My name is Richard Evans. I'm a product manager on the Oracle Database Security team, and I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Mr. Russ Lowenthal. Thanks for joining us today, Russ.
Thanks for having me on, Rich. Always a pleasure.
This is your session. If you've not joined us before, welcome. We hold this session on the second Wednesday of every month. This is for all customers, and curious observers as well. 8 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Central. We do record these sessions, and the recordings will be available on the asktom.oracle.com platform a few weeks after. I'm still trying to get the last year's processed before I can get to this year's. So thanks for joining us. We have technical topics, announcements, and then Q&A opportunity. Feel free to put those those questions in there. If we can answer them as we go, we will. If not, we'll have some time at the end for us to take those. So thanks for joining us. I do put the meeting notes out on this web page, this GitHub page, which I will include in the chat right now for everybody. Cheat sheet on what we talked about this month, as well as probably the last, almost 48 months in there as well, probably. Links, notes, blogs, whatever kind of information we think is relevant. If we forgot something, please hit me up and we will add it to that link. Security updates, product updates, patch updates. Please stay on top of your quarterly patching. That will be released on or around January 20th. So we always say once patches are released for any system, whether it's a operating system, database, web server, application, it's easy to look at what was remediated, what was fixed in there, and go, okay, that was a problem. Then you see an uptick in those exploit attempts. So please stay on top of those quarterly patches as well. If you're using RAC, Real Application Clusters, you can look at fleet patching and provisioning. And as always, Mike Dietrich's blog, MikeDietrichDE.com, is a great source of information on patches and upgrades. We have a new customer series available. We talked about this the last couple months. We are going to host the same session, just at a more friendly time for our friends and customers in the Asia Pacific region. So Manoj is going to host these. It'll be on the third Wednesday of every month. So a week from today at 10 a.m. India Standard Time. Same kind of format, announcements, technical topic, QA opportunity there. You can subscribe to that or ask your colleagues in the APAC region to subscribe by going to asktom.oracle.com and then search for APAC or use that QR code on the screen there. So we're excited to have 2 sessions of this so we can reach everyone and have some interaction with y'all. More interaction is available if you're interested in talking to Roger about a new feature that we're currently working on. So if your organization is working on AI agents or AI applications, and you want to restrict that data to the row, column level, even that kind of tuple level there, that cell level, please reach out to Roger. So if you're using Virtual Private Database, VPD, or Real Application Security, RAS, today, this is kind of like a next generation version of that for your AI agents and applications. So really neat stuff coming down the pipe here from Roger and the development team. Okay? Same thing goes for Audit Vault and Database Firewall. Nazia and the development team are working on that next generation of AVDF. If you're doing something with AVDF today, then please reach out to Nazia. If you're interested in AVDF, if you want to centralize that audit data from your databases, your operating systems, if you want to use that database firewall, if you're looking at assessing your fleet of databases, whether on-prem or in the cloud, please reach out to Nazia. I'll put their emails here in the Zoom chat. But reach out. We're always looking to interact with customers, partners, consultants to understand how you're using the technology or how you would like to use the technology. Okay. Mr. Lowenthal, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thanks for having me back, Rich. Again, thank you. You let me come on last month and again this month. So it's
happy to have you.
Much appreciated. So last month was a really busy month. For those who joined, I apologize. I'm going to repeat one thing just because it's pretty important. Somebody actually already asked a question about it in chat. No, go the other way. A few minutes ago, and that is right around the 7th or 8th of December, there was an update to the MOS note that covers database releases and support timelines. And that update was one we've been waiting for a very long time, saying we're going to release Oracle AI Database 26AI this month. In fact, unless something goes horribly wrong between now and next week, it's going to be next week, probably on Tuesday. But when the 23.26.1 release update comes out, that's the January release update, you'll be able to go to edelivery.oracle.com and download 26AI for Linux platform. Other operating systems will follow, but this is just, it's a huge milestone for us. It was a great Christmas present for us last month. And we're very, very excited. We put a lot of work into 26AI, and it's just so nice for us to see this get out there to where it can be used more broadly. But December didn't stop there, because about a week and a half after that, on the 18th of December, we completed our common criteria certification for 26AI. So very, very timely. It takes a while to get through certification. It's a very long testing process. But so happy to get it done actually before most of you will be able to use it, instead of you having to go out there saying, when is it coming? When is it coming? Certification is available today. We also, the very next day, on the 19th of December, completed our lab validation for FIPS 140-3 certification for the cryptography stack that we use within 26AI. For those who aren't familiar with FIPS, the way this works can be a little bit confusing. We've completed lab validation. That's enough for NIST to put us on the crypto module validation program under modules in progress. Now we have to wait for somebody in the government to get around to looking at what the lab did and signing off on it and moving us to the final list. That may seem like a minor thing, but the agency in the government that does this is backed up, and times are running between 8 months and 18 months. There's people on this list that have been there for 18 months right now. So we are not holding our breaths. Most people consider being on the CMVP module in progress list to be sufficient, because all of the technical work has been done. It's just the final bureaucratic stamp that we're waiting for. It's very, very rare for something on the module in progress list to be rejected. All right. So anyway, two really cool things that happened after office hours last year. Last year. One of them's common criteria validation. That is complete. We have the certificate. The other one is FIPS 140-3 validation. We completed the lab portion, and that evidence is available for you on the NIST website. Okay. Now let's get to today's topic. And for today's topic, what we're going to talk about is kind of sort of the fact that quantum computing presents a problem to those of us who are concerned about security. And it is a really hot topic, and I'm going to kind of walk you through why. When you make a connection to an Oracle database, assuming you're not on the server like doing BEQ, you're traveling over the network. And as you select data from the database, or you push data into the database with inserts, updates, deletes, that data moves over the network, and someone with access to that network segment can read the data as it's traveling across. That kind of exploit is called a sniffing attack. Well, the answer for this is obvious. We've been talking about it forever. To solve this problem, you encrypt the communications over the network. Oracle Database gives you two ways to do this. One of them is native network encryption. The other is transport layer security, or TLS, what we used to call secure socket layer SSL, but TLS is the new version of this. Now, for the rest of my talk today, we're only discussing TLS, because the capabilities that I'm mentioning are only available today in TLS. All right. So we've got TLS encryption, which means the hacker can't read it. And we are very, very happy because our data is protected. At least we're very, very happy until quantum computers come along, because a quantum computer of sufficient strength can break the TLS key exchange process and obtain the key that TLS is using to encrypt and decrypt data and decrypt the data to give you clear text data. Right? Now, I said a couple of key words there. One of the big ones that I said is of sufficient strength. Right now, quantum computers are not considered to be sufficiently strong to do this. If such computers exist, they are not available in the commercial world. We never know what nation states may have, but quantum computers that are commercially available just aren't quite there yet. But like anything in computing, this is a technology that advances rapidly. And most people who study it believe that sometime between 3 years from now in 2029 and 13 years from now in 2039, we're going to see quantum computers that can be used to reliably decrypt TLS encryption. All right, so 2029 is still a few years away. Is this something you need to concern yourself with now? Sadly, the answer is yes. And here's why. This is stuff we know is happening. It's not a guess. We know this is going on right now. There are organizations, nation state and criminal, that are capturing traffic and storing that traffic. In other words, they're harvesting it, like you might bring in wheat or something and put it up for use later, with the intention of using quantum computers when they get strong enough to break that encryption, at which point the encrypted data that you send now becomes clear text sometime in the future. Okay? So if you are sending things to your database or getting information from your database that you would be worried about being exposed in 3 years, then this is something you need to address fairly quickly. So what have we done for this? Well, in the October release update, which was the very first 26AI, 23.26.0, we added support for a new key negotiation mechanism called ML-KEM and for a new type of certificate called ML-DSA. ML-KEM stands for Module Lattice Key Encapsulation Mechanism. So ML, Module Lattice, KEM, Key Encapsulation Mechanism. And this is the NIST approved algorithm that is intended to be quantum resistant. All right. So once you enable ML-KEM, which you could have done starting with the October release, then the expectation is the quantum computers are never going to be able to break this, and the people that are trying to steal your data are just going to be crying in their beers because they can't get at your data. Pretty simple to enable this. The prerequisites, you had to be using SSL version 1.3, so TLS 1.3, not the old TLS 1.2. There's a specific cipher suite, TLS AES 256 SHA 384. This is the strongest cipher suite that we offer right now. And then there's a new parameter that you'll see in your SQLnet.org called TLS key exchange groups, and you set that to ML-KEM. Okay. Again, this is old news. You've been able to do this for 3 months now. Next week, we're releasing a new little nuance to this. We're going to add support for something called hybrid key negotiation. And to understand hybrid key negotiation, and this is really, if you think about it, just in general terms, a very simple thing. It all boils down to trust. Do you believe that ML-KEM is secure? And if you're like me, I just open my wallet to strangers and I have my credit card number posted on my website. If you're that kind of naive person, you might say, why not? NIST says it's good. It's been tested by cryptographers, not just at NIST, but around the world. It's the standard for NIST and many other organizations. There's no known issues with it. But the part of me that lives in the real world says, well, wait a second here. Things that are new are always a little suspect. And this really ML-KEM hasn't been tested much. There's almost no one using this yet. This is cutting edge technology. And I've been, I think I've got my camera on. I've been doing this for a while, as you can probably see, and I still remember year after year we'd find some new vulnerability in SSL, and then TLS came out, which was supposed to be the end of all of that, and then we'd find vulnerabilities in TLS. There's a reason why we're on TLS 1.3 now instead of TLS 1.1 or 1.2. So the chances are that maybe sometime in the future somebody will find a vulnerability in ML-KEM. So, what do we do with this new little nuance? Well, here's what we do. We begin to take what we call a belt and suspenders approach to this. We use hybrid key management, available starting next week, and hybrid key management combines the old way of doing key exchange, which was elliptical curve Diffie-Hellman ephemeral, ECDHE, with module lattice key encapsulation mechanism. What basically happens is during the communication setup, when you have the TLS negotiation going on, you generate two keys. One of them is an ML-KEM key, the other is an ECDHE key, and then the database combines those together to create a composite key. And you use that composite key to protect your data. In order for someone to sniff the data and break your encryption, they have to compromise both ML-KEM and ECDHE. This is about as good as it can get right now. To turn this on, again, you have to be TLS 1.3 because that's a prerequisite for ML-KEM. You have to be using that TLS AES 256 SHA-384 cipher suite because that's a prerequisite for ML-KEM. But you're going to change your TLS exchange groups to hybrid. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. And that's it. At that point, you're taking advantage of both the old and the new, and you are as protected as current technology will give you. Some things to consider here. This is cutting edge. Your clients have to support the new algorithms. Starting next week, the only Oracle client that does this yet is going to be SQL Plus. Okay. SQL Developer, SQL CL, these others will come along later. But starting next week, it's only going to be SQL Plus and only SQL Plus with the January release update applied to it. For these other components, SQL Developer, SQL CL, we're waiting for Java to uptake it. That is scheduled for Java 27. ML-KEM is available in Java 24. So if you're using that for SQL Developer, SQL CL, you're covered. But hybrid is scheduled for Java 27. If you're using somebody else's client, Toad, SQL Station, one of those, show your age there, Russ. You've got to check with the vendor to see if they're going to support it. But you can reasonably expect not too many people, certainly starting next week, because as far as I know, we are very, very early with this one. There's no other vendor that we know of that is this far along. Okay. Now, a little bit of good news. From a performance standpoint, there is no overhead that we are able to measure in our testing for ML-KEM and only a minor impact for hybrid mode. And this piece of the performance is only during session setup. So unless you have an application or something that is start a session, make a call, end the session, start a session, make break frequently, they're not going to see any difference here. After the session is established, no impact. So as you're moving data over the network, you're still using the old algorithms. You're using that really strong one, but no difference if otherwise. And this key negotiation phase, although it's a little bit higher for hybrid mode, if you're moving from TLS 1.2, which is what you're using if you're in 19C, to TLS 1.3, just the move from TLS 1.2 to TLS 1.3 speeds up key negotiation by about 20%. So that minor impact for hybrid mode, that's a minor impact for hybrid mode if you were in TLS 1.3 without hybrid mode versus TLS 1.3 with hybrid mode. Going from legacy, TLS 1.2 to this new mechanism, you're still going to see it be faster because you've eliminated one entire network round trip in the key negotiation. Okay. All right. So again, that's the TLS portion of this. Now, TLS runs on certificates, and you can continue using your existing certificates with hybrid key mode or with ML-KEM. However, just like quantum computers are expected to be able to break the key negotiation portion of TLS, quantum computers are expected to be able to produce collisions in public key cryptography, specifically to do impersonation. And so there is a new type of certificate called a module lattice-based digital signature algorithm, ML-DSA certificate. ML-DSA, again, very, very new, not required for ML-KEM or hybrid. But if you want to use them, the Oracle database, starting with the October release update, does support them. You can create them using Aura PKI, self-signed ML-DSA certificates, and we're starting to see commercial certificate authorities begin to release these. There's still there's not many of them, but there's a few. So this is a capability. For data at rest, transparent data encryption, you should be, if you're worried about post-quantum, you should be using AES 256. AES 256, which is a symmetric key algorithm, in other words, you're not exchanging the key, your key is already known because it's in the wallet, is considered to be secure, at least for the foreseeable future. In 26 AI, the default algorithm is AES 256. In 19C, you may remember the default algorithm was 128. That doesn't change. You have to go in and explicitly configure it to use AES 256. You can do that by changing the default algorithm. There's a parameter to do that in 19C. Or when you create your table space, you can use the AES 256 syntax. You can convert from AES 128 to AES 256, either using online encryption or offline encryption. Okay? Now, this next one is a little touchy here, just because it's challenging to work with in some cases. Oracle wallets, if you're using a wallet instead of Key Vault or OCI Vault or some other HSM, Oracle wallets are also encrypted. So they're storing the encryption keys and they are themselves encrypted. Wallets that were created prior to 19.22, in other words, the January 2024 release update, were encrypted with DES, triple DES. Wallets created with Aura PKI or MakeStore after the January 2024 release are encrypted by default with AES 256. If you have a wallet, and you'll see this in the release notes, by the way, if you have a wallet, maybe not in the release notes, you'll see it in an update we're making to the FIPS annex to the database security guide. If you have a wallet that was created prior to 19.22, you should check to see what encryption algorithm was used for that wallet. If it's triple DES, then you should recreate the wallet, just migrate it to AES 256. And there's a very easy section in the Aura PKI that talks about part of the data documentation that talks about how to do this.
All right. Thanks, Russ. Appreciate everybody for joining us
sir.
today. Russ, appreciate your presentation. And if you want to learn a little more, we've got, a bunch of live labs out there. So one I highlighted here is TDE key management with Oracle Key Vault. Tangentially related to today's discussion. We do have one out there on TLS and one-way certificate creation with 19C. Once 26 AI comes out, we plan on updating that lab and including some of these kind of capabilities there as well. So again, join us on the second Wednesday of every month. AskTom.oracle.com for our sessions, as well as dozens of other really good Oracle database presentations and Oracle product presentations. We're working on an update to the ebook as well. The 6th edition is out there as of, I think, last year or so. Download it at oracle.com/securing the Oracle database. Again, we've got our APAC session. So if you have colleagues in Asia, let them know that we're going to be hosting the sessions on the third Wednesday of every month. So next Wednesday, the 21st, actually 21st for me, for them. Yeah. And then February 18th as well. So you can join us for our session on February 11th of next month. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You guys have done great asking questions today. Keep in touch. You can email me, you can email Russ, and we'll see you next month on Database Security Office Hours. Cool.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Appreciate it.